Have you ever noticed how quickly people celebrate your dreams when they seem impossible, but how uncomfortable they become when those dreams start to come true? In the summer of 1901, a young man stood on a crowded street corner in Washington, D.C., holding a notebook filled with calculations that many experts considered ridiculous. Passers-by ignored him. Some laughed openly. Others dismissed him as another dreamer chasing impossible ideas. What nobody realized was that this quiet inventor was about to challenge some of the most powerful people in America. His name was Granville T. Woods, and his story would reveal a truth history repeats again and again. Not everyone who smiles at your ambitions will be happy when you succeed. Born in 1856 in Columbus, Ohio, Woods entered a world where opportunities for African Americans were severely limited. The Civil War had only recently ended, and racial discrimination remained deeply rooted throughout American society. From an early age, Woods displayed an unusual fascination with machines. While other children played games, he spent hours studying mechanical devices, train engines, and electrical systems. He wanted to understand how things worked. More importantly, he wanted to improve them. Formal education opportunities were limited, so much of what he learned came through self-study and practical experience. As a teenager, he worked in machine shops and railroad facilities, carefully observing the technology that powered the rapidly industrializing nation. America was changing at breathtaking speed. Railroads connected cities, factories multiplied, electricity was beginning to transform daily life. Inventors became celebrities. Men like Thomas Edison and Alexander Graham Bell were celebrated as heroes of progress. But for a black inventor in the late 19th century, gaining recognition was far more difficult. Many people simply assumed that innovation belonged to someone else. Woods ignored those assumptions. He continued learning, continued experimenting, continued building. Eventually, he became one of the most talented electrical engineers in America. One of his most important breakthroughs involved railroad communication. At the time, train accidents were a serious problem. Railroads expanded rapidly, but communication between moving trains remained unreliable. Collisions often resulted in devastating loss of life. Woods developed an ingenious system known as the synchronous multiplex railway telegraph. The technology allowed trains to communicate while moving. It was revolutionary. Railroad companies immediately recognized its potential. Safer transportation meant fewer accidents, fewer delays, and greater profits. But success brought something Woods had not expected: attention. And not all attention is positive. As his inventions gained recognition, some people who had previously ignored him suddenly became interested. Competitors examined his work closely. Critics questioned whether he truly deserved credit. Some newspapers minimized his achievements. Others openly expressed disbelief that a black inventor could produce technology equal to or better than that of famous white inventors. Yet the most surprising challenge came from a man whose name was already known around the world: Thomas Edison. By the late 1880s, Edison had become one of the most powerful inventors in America. His influence reached newspapers, investors, businesses, and politicians. When Woods patented several electrical innovations, disputes emerged over intellectual property rights. At one point, Edison challenged one of Woods' patents in court. For many observers, the outcome seemed obvious. One side was Thomas Edison, the other was a relatively unknown inventor facing enormous social barriers. Most people expected Woods to lose. Instead, something remarkable happened. The courts ruled in Woods' favor, not once, but multiple times throughout various patent disputes. His inventions were legitimate, his ideas were original, and the evidence supported him. For Woods, the victory represented more than legal success. It represented validation. Years of hard work had finally been recognized. Yet success created another unexpected problem: envy. The more successful Woods became, the more resistance he encountered. Some competitors attempted to discredit him. Others tried to claim portions of his work. Investors often hesitated to support him despite recognizing the value of his inventions. Doors that opened easily for others remained closed for him. History shows that opposition often intensifies when achievement becomes visible. People who once ignored your efforts sometimes become uncomfortable when those efforts produce results. Woods experienced this repeatedly, yet he refused to stop. Throughout his career, he secured more than 60 patents. His inventions improved railroads, electrical systems, communications technology, and transportation infrastructure. Many innovations that helped modernize America carried his influence. Yet financial rewards rarely matched his contributions. Larger companies frequently benefited more from his ideas than he did. Recognition came slowly, sometimes decades later. Still, Woods continued working. He focused on creation rather than resentment, improvement rather than revenge, progress rather than bitterness. One of the most fascinating moments in his life came after his growing reputation became impossible to ignore. According to historical accounts, Thomas Edison eventually offered Woods a prominent position within his company. For many inventors, such an offer would have been irresistible. Edison was famous, powerful, connected. Accepting the position could have guaranteed stability and prestige, but Woods declined. He chose independence. He preferred building his own path rather than living under someone else's shadow.
It was a risky decision, yet it reflected the confidence he had developed through years of overcoming obstacles. He no longer needed validation from people who once doubted him. He trusted his own abilities. As the 20th century approached, America increasingly benefited from technologies influenced by Wood's work. Railroads became safer, electrical systems became more efficient, communication improved. Millions of people unknowingly used systems connected to his inventions, yet his name remained far less famous than many of his contemporaries. When he died in 1910, he was respected within engineering circles, but largely unknown to the broader public. Over time, historians began rediscovering his contributions. Today, Granville T. Woods is often called the Black Edison, though many scholars argue he deserves recognition under his own name rather than comparison to anyone else. His story remains extraordinary, not only because of what he invented, but because of what he endured. Again and again, he encountered people who smiled when he struggled, but became uncomfortable when he succeeded. People who welcomed his dreams when they seemed unrealistic, but resisted them when they became reality. History teaches a powerful lesson through his life. Not everyone who stands near you wants to see you rise higher than they are. Not everyone who praises your efforts will celebrate your success. Some people support potential. Far fewer support achievement. That does not mean becoming suspicious of everyone. It simply means understanding human nature. Success reveals character, both yours and theirs. Granville T. Woods never allowed jealousy, opposition, or unfair treatment to define him. He continued building, continued learning, continued creating. And in the end, the inventions he left behind outlived every critic who doubted him. History remembered the work. The jealousy disappeared. And the man who was once underestimated became one of the most important inventors America ever produced.